Hi, everybody. It is Shayna coming to you live again. I am really excited because Jennifer Edwards and I continue to come live with you, sharing some of our great leadership. Hi,
Hi,
Jen.
everybody.
Happy to have you today.
Thank you.
So, Jen and I are going to talk with you about the concept of why we both don't like the word balance. And I dislike this word so much. In fact, I wrote a blog on it called Why, what did I call it? I think I said why balance is bullshit. Because that's really what I think about it. But Jen, I
Mhm.
want to ask you, because when I mentioned it, I think in one of our last lives that we did, you said, "Oh, I totally agree. I hate that word." So let me ask you,
100%.
what is sort of behind that for you?
Yeah. Well, just for clarification, I think the word balance does have its place, just not after the term work life.
Yes.
So, for me, the term work life balance, I feel like is just another concept of, in a way, describing how things should be for people. And it denotes, when I think of balance, right, you have two different things on each side of a balance, and they should be equal. And so you've got work and you've got your life, and they should be in balance. Well, I don't agree with that because work is one of many aspects of your life. You've got relationships, fun, marriage, children, health, finances, like you name it. There's so many different aspects of life. And so who decided that work and all the rest of life needed to be in balance?
Mhm.
And that concept, I feel like for a lot of people, even subconsciously makes them feel like there's something that they should be doing with their life. And if it's not in balance, it's somehow wrong.
So the fact that you're describing it that way is so interesting because I was just speaking with a client yesterday who said the same thing. She said it's almost like there has to be this equal weight
Yes.
to everything. Now, I see it a little differently, actually. So,
Okay.
I come out of the corporate world and we talked a lot about this concept of work-life balance. Make sure you have work-life balance. And they would always use like I joke, like Mary from accounting. Look at Mary from accounting. She is incredible at work. She gives us everything here and she's like a top performer. And then she goes home and she's also the Girl Scout troop leader and she's a mom and she's baking fresh cookies and she also runs marathons. And you were given
I'm
this like
tired just thinking about it.
inspiring. You were given this like vision of the person that was doing their best max effort at everything all the time.
Right.
And what I hated about that, and when I would hear it, was people would just feel less than constantly. And so when I think about it, I think of like, can you have that at times? Of course, absolutely. Like there are times when you've got the energy to do all the things, but everybody's different and everybody's max effort looks different for everybody. For some people, the fact that they can get out of bed in the morning and commute to work is their max. That's what they've got. And that is great. That is good enough for them. I think about it with like, what are my priorities of the moment, of the day, of the week, of the month? Where do I need to be putting effort? So what does that look like? And I'd love to hear from you, Jen, kind of how you see this. But for me, I think about, okay, if I know I'm having a really crazy week, maybe I'm doing a workshop and I'm doing a podcast and I've got a lecture and I've got my clients. Oh, and by the way, I have two kids and a husband and like things that I like to, right? Outside of work, even though I love all of it. But when I do that, I might like say to the kids, you guys, I'm going to be like a little extra this week because I've got a lot going on. And so I'm not going to be at baseball practice. That's going to be there instead. I've got to like prepare for this thing I've got tomorrow. And I am making an intentional choice
Yes.
for me, which is like, I need to focus here right now, which means maybe next, like I'm doing more at baseball practice and I'm bringing team snacks that day because that's how I want to show up that day. But it's a place of choice rather than a place of like desperation trying to be all things to everybody because I know I can't be that and I don't really want to be that,
Right.
frankly.
Well, in the first description of Mary from accounting, which and we can joke about it, but the reality is that there's a very, very high percentage, especially of women out there and some men, that's reality. And in a way, it's almost like you need to balance being perfect.
Yes.
You can't just be your perfectionism, which we all know is actually not a thing. And perfectionism is actually a very low level of energy and will lead to nothing but misery. But you need to balance your perfectionism. You can't just be perfect here. You have to also be perfect here. For me, if I was going to use the word balance, it's more of what you just described of feeling energetically balanced. When things are energetically balanced, then it feels even, you know, it's almost like a wave where things are settled and not
Mm.
this. So when we have conscious choice, we can look at all of the different areas of life and say, like, pieces of a pie. So say there's 7 main areas of life, like, you know, we can make this pie piece bigger and this one smaller and this one bigger and this one smaller. And we can constantly be moving the lines between the pie pieces, consciously choosing depending on what our current circumstances are and what will work for us, for our happiness, for our peace, for our self-care, for, you know, time with family, time for work, excuse me, whatever the situation is. And then we feel balanced because this week I want to focus more on my kids. The next week I want to focus more on work, or I'm going on vacation. So it takes away the right and the wrong. And I always say the right proportion of any life is what's right for that person, what has them feeling feeling good, feeling at peace, feeling happy. That's the right distribution of the pie piece. Anything other than that just is a story.
I love that. I think it's a perfect way to describe it. And it is like, I think about it. Yeah. Like waves is such a great way to consider it because it shifts, it evolves, it goes up and down. It depends on different things that are happening. And so to your point, there is no one right way. And I think if we sort of tie this back to leadership, right, there's a lot of pressure on people that are leading others. It's constant and it's coming at all directions. And especially if you're somebody who's also juggling something going on personally, whether it's a family or whether it's your own personal needs and desires, your friends, whatever it may be, we, I think, feel this pressure to show up at the top of our game all the time. And we can do that, but the top of our game might look different in different circumstances, right? And so I think we have to get what that looks like definitionally and sort of know, like, I've got to really give it all today at work. It's really important for me. And tomorrow I've got to take my kid to the doctor and I've got to really give it all there. And sometimes there's a little bit of both happening too. And if that's what you've got that day,
Right.
great. That's what you've got that. How do you embrace that? I think is really sort of the question.
Exactly. And embracing it is letting go of that judgment, letting go of that make wrong, because you should have work-life balance. It's just yet another thing that somebody can fail at. The other thing to add on is that the way it all looks, excuse me, not only is different for each of us situationally and every day, but if you step back and just look big picture, your life, my life, Mary from accounting's life are different. And it could be that Mary from accounting works 80 hours a week and she loves it. She's not in a partnership. She doesn't have kids. Sorry. She doesn't want kids. And she's perfectly happy this way. She thrives in it. She loves it. And she's great. She's fit. She's healthy. She's happy. And that's what works for her. So nobody would look at that from the outside and say she's in any kind of a balance, but she has distributed the pie, certainly not in a way that would work for me, but in a way that works for her.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's also for each person to look at, how is your life distributed in all of the areas? And is that working for you? Is that how you want to design your life, how you want your life to be
Yeah.
experienced?
Yeah. And as you describe that, it's like that quote I love, which is comparison is the thief of joy. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than looking externally for what work-life balance looks like, look inward. What does that mean to you? What do
Yes.
you in that moment?
Yep. And letting go of any preconceived expectations, stories, labels that you have to live into, live up to, be defined by. I say, you have your life. It's your life. It's no one else's life. only you get to say how it goes.
I love it. Amen. I think that is a perfect note.